watch me go. I got the voice and I got that flow. For all the girls, gotta let them know. We the ones that run this show. We've been around the block, not in it for the rock. I'm in it for my paper. Hey, you ain't gonna make me stop. Got that vibe, got that vibe. Yeah, I ain't petty. Looking fly, looking fly, looking fine. Yeah, they ain't ready. I can shine, I can shine, I can shine. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I ain't worried about the numbers. I ain't focused on the best. I've been singing from my soul and I've been trying to get you back. There is only one of me. That's all is all I need. I'm real, better watch me go. I got the voice and I got that flow. For all the girls, better let them know. We the ones that run this show. We've been around the block, not in it for the rock. I'm in it for my paper. Hey, you ain't gonna make me stop. I'm on another level. I got that retro swag. I got the crew assembled. Lead the ensemble cast. Don't need my script to prove. I don't play with union rules. Yeah, I got that new school hype. I don't fit no archetype. Got that vibe, yeah, I ain't petty. Looking fly, looking fly, looking fine, yeah, they ain't ready. I can shine, I can shine, I can shine. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I ain't worried about the numbers. I ain't focused on the best. I've been singing from my soul and I've been trying to get you back. There is only one of me. That's all is all I need. That's all is all I need. I'm feeling so nice.
Hello, welcome. We're coming to you from the Week in We School broadcast studio. My name is Mark Cenite. I first joined the Week in We School 20 years ago. And we're here to tell you about what the Week in We School has to offer. And I'm joined by two current students.
Hi, my name is Eugene. I'm a final year student here at the WKWSCI School and I specialize in advertising and public relations.
Hi, I'm Alan. I'm also a final year student and I'm currently specializing in broadcast production.
So let's dig in and show you what we have to offer undergraduates. So what we offer is the Bachelor of Communication Studies with honors degree. And you can take that with a second major in business as well. So it's a 4-year undergraduate degree. It's direct honors, which means that after the third year of study, you don't have to apply for or qualify an honors year like you do at some universities. You go straight through to the fourth year. And the school was established in 1992, so we're coming up on our 30th anniversary. It seems like we just had the 25th, but this makes us one of the most established communication, well, the most established communication program in Singapore. Now, at this stage, many candidates for admission have questions about what exactly the field of communication encompasses. And there are a couple of ways to answer that question. So I'm going to start out by showing you our tracks, our specializations within our degree program. So when many people think of communication studies, the first thing they think about is journalism. And indeed, we have a journalism track. We have a distinguished track record of training journalists. Another track is the broadcast media and cinema studies, so broadcast and film. And then for students who are interested in advertising and corporate communications and public relations, there's the strategic communication for the digital age track. And then An increasing number of our students take up the track, which is now known as Data Science and Media Studies. And this is the more research-oriented of our tracks. So those are the 4 specializations. You'll probably choose one of those when you join the school, or you can remain interdisciplinary in your approach. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that in a moment. Another way that I'd like to introduce what communication studies involves is to tell you about some of the career paths that you might expect to join. And I'll do that by spending just a few minutes to introduce some of our alumni. So what we're going to be doing in today's session then is, after I tell you about some of the alumni, most of whom I know personally, we'll move into stepping through year by year what you can expect in the 4 years of the Week in We experience. And our current students will join us for the presentation of that. And then we'll wrap up today's session. So that is what is on tap. And the first alum that I'd like you to meet is Jillian Wong. Jillian is a 2005 graduate of our school. I had her as a student in a number of classes, and I was actually her faculty internship supervisor. She took up an internship at the Associated Press, the news agency, and she then went on to work for them full-time and rose to a very prominent role. She was the China editor, Greater China editor for the Associated Press, in charge of all the news that's coming out of Eastern Asia. And then from there, she moved on to roles at the Wall Street Journal, and now she's at the New York Times, one of the most prestigious newspapers in the world. One of her recent achievements, experiences, was that she was part of the team at the New York Times that was breaking the story of the coronavirus pandemic. She is Asia editor, so she oversees the content coming out in the Times about the Asia region. And for a long time, the New York Times was doing live updates on the coronavirus updates, and she was heading the team that was in charge of those live updates. So the kind of exciting career that one of our alums has post Week in We. Another New York Times reporter is Sui Lee, Wee Sui Lee. She graduated 1 year after Jillian Wong, the alum that you just met. Sui Lee is a China correspondent, and one of her distinguished recent accomplishments is she was part of a team that was nominated as a finalist for one of the highest prizes in journalism, the Pulitzer Prize. This team was doing reporting on the Xinjiang region in China. And at the Wall Street Journal, a news organization that needs no introduction, we have Serena Ng, who is a editor in the financial news section. And she came to prominence when she was covering the financial crisis in the first decade of the 2000s, part of an award-winning team that did investigative journalism on the cause of the crisis. Also at the Wall Street Journal, we have Esther Feng. She is a globetrotting reporter that had assignments in China and now is based in New York, where she does real estate reporting. And closer to home, we have Eugene Wee. Among Eugene's recent prominent leadership roles at SPH is that he was head of media strategy and analytics, and he was editor of the New Paper just before that, editor-in-chief of the New Paper. The little biography here says he grew up in the newsroom. Indeed, Eugene started out as an intern when he was still a student in the communication school. He started out as an intern and then later went on to be editor-in-chief of the New Paper. So we're proud of Eugene's achievements, and he's still in close contact with the school, sitting on our alumni board. You may recognize this face. This is Jeremy Coe. He's a correspondent for Channel News Asia who reports prominent stories from the region. And this couple of photojournalists are both graduates of our school. Kevin and Xiaobin, both of them award-winning photojournalists. Kevin, you see some of his photos here. He did this photo that appeared on the front page, on the cover of Time magazine, and he did other prominent photos that captured the summit. And the reason they're sitting so close together there is that the two of them are a couple. They're a married couple, and they're not the only couple to come out of the Week in We School. You may not recognize the face, but I'll bet you recognize the voice of Kimberly Wong. She is a co-host of the morning show on 987 FM. And we have many, many graduates who work in advertising and public relations. Something like half of our graduates go into those areas. And one of them is Adrian. Adrian is Executive Creative Director at Leo Burnett. And some of his work featured here, advertising is constantly changing, but one recent project that he was involved in was the relaunch of the special item McGriddles from McDonald's. And here's Yu Shen, who is one of the leaders at SGAG, which produces viral content that you may have passed on in your social media. And some of our alumni choose to go out on their own and create their own businesses. And some of those businesses are creative studios. And one of the most well-known is the Little Red Ants. This is a team of our alumni. They founded this creative studio that produces advertising and other video content. And since then, they've hired other Week in We graduates to be on their team. And then there's another content creation firm is Our Grandfather Story, which produces content about Asia that has gotten a lot of attention. And there's Weave, a creative studio formed by some of our alumni. And some of our alumni are stars. So Tae Ko-wei, a pop star in the region, and Joanne Pei, a student I had in class, who of course is a well-known actress, award-winning actress in Singapore. I remember when I had her in class, she seemed like any other student, but then sometimes when I hailed a taxi, the taxi would pull up and it would have a giant photo of Joanne's face on the side of it. She had many high-profile advertising contracts, a very well-known face and actress in Singapore. And Narelle Kang of the Sam Willows is a graduate of our school, whom I recall having in class as well. Now, when you're choosing your university, you shouldn't just take our word for it that we have something worthwhile to offer. You should do your homework, and you should ask hard questions, and you should see what other folks are saying about our programs. And Warren Fernandez of SPH said some very positive things about us. This was unsolicited. We didn't ask him for a blurb. This was published in a column in the newspaper, actually, where he was talking about education and media. So fresh graduates of our school have a head start over other fresh graduates. They come to us job ready with the skills needed to plug and play in the multimedia newsroom that the Straits Times has become. Our journalists no longer file news reports just for print, but also online. They work not just with words, but also photos, graphics, videos. So we offer you training in all of those areas so that you can have that diverse skill set that's required for the contemporary media landscape. Now, another voice to seek out when you are investigating your choices for the university are the organizations that do rankings of academic programs. So within the field of communication studies, Quacquarelli-Symonds does rankings, and they have consistently ranked us as one of the top programs in the world. Number 7 in the most recent ranking. And you see we're in very distinguished company there with other fine universities. This ranking is specific to the field of communication studies. And one thing I want to point out is those folks who are ahead of us in the rankings, those few that are ahead of us, and many that are below us, are actually programs that are much older than we are. So the thing about rankings is that the methodology gets tweaked from year to year, and so sometimes there's fluctuations. But we're proud that we've been ranked in the top tier for a long time now, and we hope to keep that going. Now, naturally, one of the questions that many candidates have at this stage, the question is about admissions. How do I get in? So let's walk you through the different criteria. So 2 paths here, academic achievements and aptitude-based admissions. So for the path that emphasizes your academic achievements, you see some letters and numbers here. So what happens is if you line up the students who were admitted last year, from the folks with the lower scores to the highest scores. The 10th percentile would be represented by the letters and numbers on this slide. So you see the 10th percentile for A-levels poly and for IB. And this includes the aptitude-based admissions, which is the other path. The aptitude-based admissions, these are applications that emphasize different kinds of achievements and aptitudes. So you can choose at the point of filing your application to do an aptitude-based application. And what we're looking for there is a national or international achievement, like winning an international award, or evidence of a passion pursued consistently. We need you to demonstrate that, for example, you have a passion in communication that you have pursued consistently. Now, one thing that's new this year is that we have what's known in the local education industry as holistic admissions, where all shortlisted applications will be interviewed in one form or another. I don't know how many in-person interviews there will be this year, but there certainly will be online interviews. And candidates often ask what it is we're looking for in these interviews. How can I succeed in the interview? So let me try to address that by saying, first of all, what is less successful in an interview? We ask the student, why is it that you want to study communication? And one thing that we hear all the time is that the student has been interested in communication, they've been interested in media since young. But what's more impressive to us is if you can point to some evidence, some manifestation of your interest in communication. It's a lot more impressive to us if you can say, look, I've been honing my skills as a writer, I've been writing film reviews, and I have this blog that's built up an audience over the years and gotten some attention. If you can demonstrate to us with evidence the statements that you make in your interview, that'll make for a much stronger interview. Now, what we're going to do in this next segment of the presentation today is to walk you through year by year the Week in We experience, what you can expect. The timings aren't exact for all of these things, but in year 1, you will take a number of core courses. So you'll take university level core courses. Those are taken by other students from throughout the university. They'll be in the same classroom as you. And then there are the foundational core classes. There's a writing class, and We's version of the writing class is the basic media writing class, where you get to try your hand at different types of media writing, whether it's journalism, public relations, advertising, copywriting, broadcast writing. And you will take some or all of your major core classes in the first year as well. So there's the Foundation of Communication Studies class, and Introduction to Communication, and the Media Law, Ethics, and Policy class, which I teach, where we try to teach you how to stay out of trouble as a media professional or a communication professional. There's the Speech and Argumentation class, where you get experience doing the kind of thing that we're doing now, how to do different kinds of presentations for different audiences. There's Foundation of Information Analytics. We're very proud to offer this. Not all communication schools do. What we do is we require this introduction to statistics as part of your education, because what we find when we talk to our industry partners is that one of the most sought after skills among communication professionals are the numerical, analytical skills that we train all of our students in. And the word is that this is a gentle but thorough introduction to the kind of statistical tools that you need in the modern communication marketplace. Those are some of the courses that you're going to be taking in the first year. And then what happens in year 2 is, if you haven't already started specializing, you'll start taking some courses in your particular specialization. You remember those that we showed you before. You'll start to choose your specialization and dig in on that. And then another part of the Week in We experience that typically occurs in year 2, semester 2, not always, but typically, is that students go on semester-long exchange at one of our hundreds of partner universities around the world. The vast majority of Week in We students, basically everybody who wants to go on exchange, will have the opportunity to do that, and in non-pandemic times, at least. So let's hear from our current students about their exchange experience. So let's start off with Alan.
Yeah, so I did my exchange in year 2, Sem 2 in the University of Sheffield in the UK. And when I was there, I did a lot of courses from, journalism and political communication, film studies, and even like basic Italian, just to enjoy being in Europe. And apart from all this, like in the next slide, you can see that not just being in school, I got to have a lot of fun as well. So being in Sheffield, I was really near the a lot of nature reserves where you can go for really long hikes. I went nearby to Manchester to watch Manchester City play. And of course, I got to meet a lot of interesting people by living in a hostel and getting to meet other people on exchange. Yeah.
And Eugene.
All right. So as for myself, I went to Suffolk University in Boston, USA. This was really interesting for me because I went alone to Boston. It's 23 hours away from Singapore. And when I landed, I didn't know anyone who was there. But if you can see in the next slide, you can see all the friends that I made. So in the photo on the left, you can see my roommates. I lived with those 4 people for 5 months. I met international exchange students as well. And I also got to visit Harvard University to see that very famous Harvard statue. You can see some trickle down there. It's actually pee. So you're supposed to touch the toad for good luck, but we saw that and the tour guide said don't touch it. So that was really interesting. In Boston, I took a lot of different classes as well, some classes that are not offered in Week in We as an unrestricted elective. I also took intercultural communications in a very diverse classroom with students from all around the world. So yeah, that was really interesting for me.
Okay. So next up is the year 3 experience. And again, we'll be hearing from our current students about that. So in year 3, you'll take more courses in your specialization, most likely. But then all of our students do a nearly 6-month-long professional internship, just shy of 6 months, 22-week professional internship at one of our many, many partner organizations. You see just a tiny sampling of them there. We have more partner organizations and more internship slots than we have students. So you may find that you're spoiled for choice in terms of internship opportunities. Now, I want to emphasize that all of our students go on professional internship, just as I emphasize that so many of our students have exchange opportunities during non-pandemic times. One question that I want you to ask as you investigate your options is, how many students have the great experiences that the different programs are telling you about? So a lot of programs will say, oh yes, we have exchange. A lot of the programs will say, oh yes, we have internship opportunities. But you should ask the next question, how many students go? Because what you'll find at many programs is that the exchange spots are very limited, or the internship opportunities have to be arranged exclusively by the student, and often it doesn't work out, and only maybe a few students go on internship. That's not the case. The internship at the WKWSCI School is baked into the degree program. It's a required part, and you can source your own, and in many cases people do, but we also have hundreds of partners that you can go to. Now let's hear a little bit about professional internship experiences of our current students. Alan?
Yeah, so I did my internship at Grab. It was self-sourced, and I was in both the regional marketing team and the regional business development team. And I think what Dr. Cenite mentioned about the WKWSCI School being a very interdisciplinary course, really came in helpful, because I did a lot of little things. I did a little bit of copywriting, a little bit of marketing planning, and of course a little bit of numbers, where I didn't expect to be thrown a gigantic Excel sheet with 20,000 cells, but I had to do that to pull numbers, to extract reports and stuff like that. So this was a really interesting experience. I also wish that I could show you a better photo, but because of doing the internship in the middle of a pandemic, the majority of my time was spent at home on Zoom. But I did get a taste of the office for a couple months, and got to meet interesting people, other batchmates, and I think overall it's a really interesting experience.
Great.
All right. So as for myself, I was at NBC Universal, which is a media broadcast company based in the United States. So if you see that photo right now, that's actually in the CNBC studio based in Singapore, where that's the newsroom, but I was actually under the entertainment division of NBC Universal. I worked on really exciting projects such as Keeping Up with the Kardashians, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So it was very exciting because I got to watch the shows before they were actually aired on TV, and I worked for affiliate marketing there and strategic ad promotions, especially on social channels like Facebook and Instagram. I also spent most of my time in that internship at home, so you can see the next slide. That I added a little photo of my workstation at home. I tried to make it as conducive as possible. We worked mostly on Teams, but it was really nice because I was actually working with the Australian office over Teams, and I think COVID actually just helped the internship get even more so international than it would have been if it was just limited to the Singapore office. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time there.
Wonderful. So all of our students do the internship as a required part of the program. Then there is year 4. Go directly into year 4, and there is the final year project. The project types are listed on the slide, and we'll take you through and describe them. But one common theme that I want to point out is the aim with the final year project at the WKWSCI School is that the project is not just written to be read or viewed by the people who grade it, and then for it to just go in the drawer or on the library shelf. The aim is to reach a wider audience, and let's show you how we go about that. So just one of the many fine journalism projects from recent years is this one, where students did reporting in the Philippines and Cambodia. They were investigating the conditions that fishermen had to endure, some of the abuses that they endured. And this resulted in coverage in the Straits Times, and it resulted in debate in Parliament about how to address this problem as well. So just one of many journalism projects. If you do choose to do a research project as your final year project, it doesn't just, again, sit on the library shelf afterwards. So what you see here, you see this image of this cereal box and this academic journal article about nutrition labels. The team of students with their supervisor investigated the impact of nutritional labeling on people's eating habits, and their work was published in an academic journal, so it reached the scientific community. Another image here is from a project where students investigated the effects of exercise games on the well-being of elderly folks. So they got out there in the community and they collected data about the effects of these exercise games. So again, not just, this is not just the research project where you look only at secondary sources and write a paper that gets filed away. We have video projects that take the form of either documentaries or dramas, and we've had success reaching a wide audience with both. Lahore Landing was a project filmed in Pakistan that got attention at international film festivals. Closer to home, the drama Tadpoles, which involved feats like flooding an HDB flat. This also got attention at international film festivals. But let's hear from our current students about their final year projects. So we'll hear a little bit about a campaign.
All right, so I'm currently doing my final year project, which is called Fat Check. It is a campaign raising awareness for health literacy on social media. You can see on the next page that we have launched a website and we have social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. We started this campaign because we were tasked to think about a problem that we faced during the COVID-19 times. And what my group realized that everyone was turning to online resources for fitness information and workout videos. And we also found out that in terms of finding out fitness information, there was a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of us talk about media literacy in 2020 and 2021, but there wasn't much focus on health literacy on this growing platform. So it's a growing campaign, so you can go follow it if you're interested. We're hosting workout classes on the weekends. We hold informative talks with our partners. It's actually powered by the National Youth Council and the Young Changemakers Grant as well. And we have roughly around 10 different local sponsors and partners who are also assisting us with the project.
So you see, reaching a wide audience and industry partners as well. It's not just a paper that's getting filed away. Alan, tell us about your final year project.
So I'm currently working on a documentary called Waiting for Tokyo, and it follows 4 athletes who are all trying to qualify for their first Olympic Games. And so I think naturally we were really drawn to this topic because, for us, the pandemic is, we're at home and stuff like that, but it doesn't really affect our lives in the way that it does for athletes who, plan their entire lives just for a shot at the Olympics. And, as we speak, we still have no idea what the status of the games is going to be. And so we are really interested to find out, look at 3 different sports and see how they're coping with all the uncertainty and what it means to dream about something so big and so, to try to make it to the pinnacle of their sport. We wrapped production earlier last month, and we got to meet people from air rifle shooters to open water swimmers to divers, and now we are currently in post-production, which means that we are looking at editing and kind of preparing the film for distribution.
Wonderful, wonderful. Next up, so we're through all the 4 years, and a common theme throughout is that we students get their hands dirty. We do communication. We don't just read about communication. We don't just write about communication. But we get in there and make sure that you have relevant experiences. That's one of our distinguishing points of our program. I've never seen a program in communication with more hands-on experience. And part of that is through our various practicums, practica, that are held throughout the experience, both overseas and local. And so let me just give you an ever so brief taste of some of these. The most well-known of them is the GoFAR, the Going Overseas for Advanced Reporting program, which for must be some 15 years now, they've gone to destinations all over the world to do reporting that gets published in local and international media. Now this year they were grounded because of the pandemic this last year, but they made the most of the unfortunate situation, and they reported on a different world of its own that's right here in Singapore, and that's the migrant workers' dormitories, and looked at how the migrant workers were dealing with the pandemic. And they had great success in getting many stories placed in the media. So even during pandemic times, making the best of the situation and making sure that our students get their hands dirty and have some real life reporting experience. And then there's Odyssey, the overseas documentary program. You see students filming on location there. I take students overseas to Austin, Texas for one of the most well-known interactive conferences in the world, South by Southwest, where they work on their own projects and get to hear from luminaries in many fields. And there's the online alumni magazine for the many thousands of Week in We School alumni. It's produced by our students. There's the Cannes Lions Festival, where we send students. The Cannes Lions is the one of the best-known advertising festivals where awards are given, and there's a competition there that our students join. And one of our most well-remembered experiences, practicum experiences from a while back, was when we sent students to North Korea. This was before hardly any folks had been there, and they came back and filed their reports. So we were very proud of that. Not only did we send the students abroad to North Korea, but they actually came back. And let's start finishing up here with a few words about our film festival practica. So we have the International Film Festival practicum and the local Perspectives Film Festival practicum. And for more information about that, let's hear from Alan.
Yeah, so in addition to being a broadcast production student, I'm also took quite a few mods in film studies. And I think one of the most rewarding parts of the school was being able to go to the Busan International Film Festival. And that's actually one of the most prestigious film festivals in Asia. And so it was really, really fun to be part of this community of people who really love film. And in the first photo, you can see that our hotel was actually right opposite the Busan main exhibition center. So this is actually the place where you get to see like red carpets and actors, actresses, directors during like the opening ceremony, which is the biggest event of the festival. We also got to go to screenings, like in the bottom right, where in film festivals you get to meet, watch the film followed by a Q&A by the directors and the cast, and you get to ask questions which really kind of deepens your appreciation of the film. And lastly, we also worked on a project looking at the film market in film festivals, which is something that not a lot of people know about. So we actually got to speak to Yeo Soo-hwa, who recently won the Locarno Film Festival for his film A Land Imagined. And so it was really fun to kind of like talk to him to understand the whole process of getting a film funded, as well as kind of learning a little bit more about the production and distribution side of film festival, which I think most people think about the exhibition side, but not too much about the actual business of getting films made. And so following that, earlier last year, I worked on Perspective Films Festival as the programming team. So this is a student-organized film festival where we come up with a festival from scratch. And so, after having been to the film festival, it was really fun to kind of, instead of being just a passive observer, you get to actively participate in, producing and coming up with a festival. And it was really fun because as part of the programming team, I got to kind of curate all the films that people saw last year, and that was a really fun experience.
Wonderful. Now, another important part of the Week in We experience for many students is the industry relevant experience that they get outside of the school. And Eugene, why don't you tell us about your experience?
Okay, so currently I'm working as a radio producer on Class 95's Muttons in the Morning. I accompany thousands of Singaporeans on their way to work together with the Muttons. Maybe you might have heard of me, but they call me affectionately as producer K-pop. So that's my daytime job, just planning the show and getting guests on the show as well. And in my free time, I also do hosting. So most recently, I hosted one of the moderating sessions at Shine Now, the unconference hosted by the National Youth Council. And all this experience was possible because the alumni network from Week in We is really fantastic. I got my job at Class 95. I was referred to the Muttons from Jermaine, who's also a Week in We alumni, and she's currently working as a DJ at 987. As for the Shine Now Festival, an alumni called Joel Lim is really very busy on his feet working with Gush Cloud and the National Youth Council to organize all these kinds of really interesting events. And they are the ones who always come to me for job opportunities outside of school.
So wonderful. We're approaching the end of today's session. So one thing I'd like to highlight here is a little bit about the structure of the Week in We School curriculum. So a few points, let me just talk you through all of this. So in the two shades of blue there, you see the communication major, and the whole pie represents your whole curricular experience at the Week in We School. So there's the bit in the gold color is what we call the ICC courses, the university core courses that are taken by all students in the university. It includes a professional internship. The lighter blue color is the major core courses, the courses that all Week in We students are required to take. The darker blue is the prescribed electives. So you see within the communication major, there's a lot of flexibility to take electives. And the lovely purple, 25%, is the broadening and deepening electives. We used to call these unrestricted electives, which conveys that you're unrestricted in how you fill these electives. But broadening and deepening also captures another aspect of it. What you can do is you can broaden your educational experience. You can take foreign language, you can take any of a variety of classes throughout the university as electives, or you can go deep. It's somewhat unusual, but not unheard of for students to use most of their broadening and deepening electives to take more communication studies classes and to really dig in and specialize in a particular area of communication. So a lot of flexibility. Another thing to note about having so much flexibility, a full 25% of your academic units being unrestricted, is that you're able to take a second major. So the communication studies with a second major in business, an important thing to note about that is you're able to fit that into that purple quarter of the pie there. So you get the same Week in We experience as the rest of your classmates. But what you do is you trade off some of those electives for a specialization in business. There are other second majors as well that you can join as you progress through the degree program. And more common than second majors are the minors. So students can take one. You could even squeeze in 2 minors if you chose. You can squeeze a minor into that quarter of electives that is open for you. So let's wrap up today's session, and I just want to urge you again to do your homework. There are differences between the different communication programs here in Singapore and around the world. And by asking good questions and doing your homework, you'll find out what those differences are, and you'll find out which program is best suited for you. So I urge you to take advantage of the different opportunities today and in the weeks ahead to ask questions and to join us at 3 p.m. For another session. So I really want to thank you for your attention.
Watch me go. I got the voice and I got that flow. For all the girls, gotta let them know. We the ones that run this show. We've been around the block. Not in it for the rock. I'm in it for my paper. Hey, you ain't gonna make me stop. Got that vibe, got that vibe. Yeah, I ain't petty. Looking fly, looking fly, looking fine. Yeah, they ain't ready. I can shine, I can shine, I can shine. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I ain't worried about the numbers. I ain't focused on the past. I've been singing from my soul and I've been trying to get you back. There is only one of me. That's all is all I need. I'm real, better watch me go. I got the voice and I got that flow. For all the girls, better let them know. We the ones that run this show. We've been around the block. Not in it for the rock. I'm in it for my paper. Hey, you ain't gonna make me stop. I'm on another level. I got that retro swag. I got the crew assembled. Lead the ensemble cast. Don't need my script to prove. I don't play with union rules. Yeah, I got that new school high. I don't fit no archetype. Got that vibe, yeah, I ain't petty. Looking fly, looking fly, looking fine, yeah, they ain't ready. I can shine, I can shine, I can shine. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I'ma do what I'm made to do. I ain't worried about the numbers. I ain't focused on the past. I've been singing from my soul and I've been trying to get you back. There is only one of me. That's all is all I need. That's all is all I need. I feel it so loud.